are live and welcome to the Seven Cities Shoptalk Sports Show, broadcasting to you from the beautiful state of Virginia to everyone all over the world. I am your host, Big Law Lawrence Johnson. Of course, we are getting ready to get this show started. But before we get started, I want to thank you for joining us in another episode of our brand of Dysfunctional Camaraderie. And as of now, this shop is open. And as of now, we are Charlotte bound, Queen City bound. And before I even get deeper into that, I want to let you guys know that, number one, I got one of my co-hosts here on the show, and I may have a few drop in. I'm going to let my man Ed come on and give you a quick intro. How you doing, Ed?
I could not be better if I tried.
Love to hear that.
The rains have stopped. The waters have receded. All is right with the world.
All right. I love to hear that, man. And of course, today we have a big show. We have my man, Jay James, coming on to the set here in a little bit. For those who don't know, you always hear Oliver, Jay Oliver. He's the voice of Wahoo play-by-play. Then, of course, the color commentary is done by Ball Hawk. And then, of course, you'll also have some commentary from Matt Schaub. But a lot of people don't know or get to see who the man who is running the sidelines and also working in the back or in the locker rooms. His name is Jay James. Now, I believe you have whoever has listened to Wahoo Sports on the radio. They have heard his voice. But I want to put a name to that voice here, and we're going to bring him in here in a second. But we're going to talk about this championship week and what that entails for this Wahoo football team. Also, it's going to be a double dip this weekend, in the Queen City and Charlotte, and that's going to be really cool. And I'm looking forward to going down there and covering both of those games. Also, we'll do our good, the bad, the ugly, and then we'll do some predictions on what we think the score is going to be with our second time going against the Duke Blue Devils. So let's before we get any further, let's go ahead and get my man Jay James on the line here. And of course, like I said, Jay has been doing this for quite some time. Give me 1 second. Let me get this technicality going. Here we go.
Don't lose him this time.
Hey, there he is. What's going on, Jay? How you doing, brother?
Doing well, guys. Good to see you, and appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Who's. As you could probably say, it's a good week.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, my man. Of course, Jay and I, we always see each other in the press box here and there, based off of what his time is. Based off of what his time is when he is not on the sideline, maybe pregame or postgame. We may see each other in and out and through, but it was really cool. Him and I have seen each other, especially on the bus, on the media bus ride up, and we'll say, hey man, we'll catch up. Let's catch up. Let's do a little a show together or what have you. And we just could never get it together. But we saw each other for this last game. We said, let's make it happen. So we're gonna make this happen. And of course, I've had the who's who of media professionals in the press box, and it's also a great opportunity to get Jay on, because he's definitely one of the who's when it comes to the media presence in the press box when it comes to University of Virginia. So, Jay, my man, let's go ahead and talk a little bit. What's going on, Herman? And shout out to all my folks in the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. But yeah, let's get Jay going, man. I want to hear, Jay, how'd you get started? I mean, you and I kind of talked about how you got involved. You've been doing this for what, 14 years?
Yeah.
14 years here with the Wahoos. And, let's hear your story, because it's a story that I felt it needed to be heard. And also people need to know, exactly who's giving them this information. A lot of people want to hear what happened, who's in concussion protocol, who's hurt. That's you, brother. That's you all day. You are running the sidelines and running, or even you're the one who is allowed in the locker room, during those or after those speeches or during those times when it's an emotional moment. And you probably have seen so much when it comes to the coaches speaking with the kids in a candid moment closed in. So let's go ahead and hear what you got to say, brother.
Yeah, well, again, thank y'all for having me. It's always a great opportunity on platforms like this, and I would say, it's funny, Big Law, just listening to you, I'm reminded of so many memories. You're talking about, man, you've seen it all. Yeah, I've seen a lot of bad.
Right.
I've seen it. I remember two things come to mind. I remember Bronco Mendenhall's first game, and I was a sideline reporter then, and Richmond beating us 37-20 in Scott Stadium. And Bronco looked like somebody had punched him in the face. Like he sat down, because the coach always will sit next to me and we'll talk afterwards.
Right.
And, I can remember moments like that. I can remember difficult moments with Coach London, who's just a dear friend of mine. And just, I love him to death. So, all those different moments in the struggles against Virginia Tech and some of the things that happened there, and, just watching the different coaching transitions. So you've seen a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of difficult moments. And then you've seen some great moments like 2019 and obviously this past weekend and the Florida State win. And we'll talk about how special a season this is and how historic it is. But really, I just got started with this. I went to school at Virginia starting in the mid 90s. And so I got there in 96, graduated in 2000, and then, just started interning in things in the late 90s, and, was blessed to get an opportunity with a local media company in Charlottesville that ultimately ran the Virginia Sports Network. And then just over time, I think around maybe 2003 started getting my feet wet. And then around 2007 started doing sports more primarily. And then a name that you'll remember really was a catalyst for me getting into this position in terms of doing sidelines was a former senior associate athletics director named John Oliver, who worked with Craig Littlepage. And I remember the day in 2000, because in 2010 and 2011, when Coach London got here, I don't know if you guys remember, our sideline reporter had some real cachet because his name is Chris Slade. And he was on the sidelines before me. So I used to kind of hang out with Big Slade. And, because I know a lot of those guys from that generation, from that 90 team, Ray Roberts, a lot of connections to those guys. And so I would just kind of follow Chris around. And then Chris decided to go into coaching, and there was an opening. And John Oliver and I spoke, and he was like, hey, I think you should be on the field. And that was 14 years ago. And a few coaches ago, and just feel very privileged. And when you get out blessed with opportunities like that to be able to see a lot of different things up close. And so it's been enjoyable over the years. And, Big Law, I'm getting long in the tooth, man. You see this gray hair?
So, I know, right?
I don't know. And Ed's like, what are you talking about? But yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but that's kind of how I got into it, and just have really enjoyed the opportunity.
Yeah, for me, it's this is my 13th season, so I was right there, right after you started. I kind of got in, got my feet wet, and started learning what it is to be in the media, the sports media, and also like Jackie, we were saying, and Scott German, it's a community. It really is. You really have to learn the culture. You just don't come in and all of a sudden, you're, this media darling, or you're, you know what I mean? No, you have to really earn your stripes. You really have to kind of learn, number one, how the culture is in the, culture is in the press box, but also, kind of learn the job. You got to learn it different ways. You got to learn your niche. Some people are writers. Some people are live. Like I'm a live person. I'm on live. Some people are sideline people. Some people are camera people. It's you got to learn. Kind of where you fit, and it's very 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 cool once you kind of get your footing. You kind of figure out where you are. There's C. Wood. You coming on here, C. Wood? C. Wood's one of my hosts as well. He said you started in 1956. I got you, Ed. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let Ed, you want to go ahead and ask Jay a question, something that's maybe on your mind, because I know Ed has a lot of interesting questions talking about, especially from the past.
Well, I don't know. We'll see about that. I first came into contact with Jay through women's basketball, and I'm sort of curious. Do you still are you still doing the games?
I'm not. I think I was
I knew
doing
there
the
was a
games
reason.
from 2007. There's a story within that, fellas, too. But from 2007 till about 2011, maybe a little bit, and then in 2012, I transitioned to sidelines with football.
Okay.
But I always will claim her. Debbie Ryan, the former 34-year head coach of Cavalier women's basketball. When I was in school, man, she took me in. When I first got to school, I worked for her. I was a team manager for her. And ironically, guys, that was some of my first exposure to like ESPN and some of the television crews and being in around the media was the coverage that she was getting for her team from her success. And that was also a part. And I appreciate you bringing that up, Ed. That was a part of really getting feet wet and being exposed in media was through women's basketball. And, through that, those relationships, it all kind of works together. But I think Debbie, I call her mama, even to this day.
Wow.
She, she was a true blessing to me. And, with her, I was able to go to Hawaii 3 times, Virgin Islands. We would travel because the thing about Debbie is that Debbie was on the cutting edge of Title IX. So she made sure whatever the men got in terms of their travel accommodations, their television coverage, she made sure her girls got it. And so by being associated with her, we got to do a lot of exciting things. We were on charter planes. We were, it was just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Based on her success. And so that was another kind of doorway or segue into, current media opportunities was definitely through her.
So that was your first time really doing play-by-play for games and such?
Yeah, was through women's basketball. Yep.
Absolutely. Wow. I did not know that until just now. It was like cool jazz. It was just smooth. You and what was the other guy's name?
Myron Ripley.
There you go.
Yeah.
I want to say Warren Swain. I'm like, no, that's way too far back.
That's way you going back in when we talk about that, but yeah.
I remember there's another one I remember. But yeah, I did. I just enjoyed listening to the games. It was very just professional. No nothing. No catchphrases. No, just the balance between you guys was a pleasure to listen to.
Well, that's kind of you to say. I mean, we enjoyed it. I'll tell you guys quickly, and then we can move on to the present. One of my favorite memories from the games, like Debbie is a character. For those who don't know her, like she will tell it like it is, and she will cuss you out in a second.
Yes. Is she Kim Mulkey light or Kim Mulkey heavy? Kim
she definitely. Yeah, she's Kim Mulkey before Kim Mulkey. So
right, there we go.
I remember Kim Mulkey without the wardrobe.
Yeah, we went down to Reynolds Coliseum to play NC State, and this is probably 2010. And we had a young lady named Ariana Moore on the team, and I only share this story because we had driven like 3.5 hours, man, and it's late, and the game went into 4 overtimes, and I just was like, and we're going back and forth, and at the time, Kelly Harper, who played at Tennessee, was coaching NC State at the time, so it was a high profile game, and I remember in terms of Ed, you talk about catchphrases, and sometimes emotion just takes over, right? So I was tired, and I'm like, I really don't want to drive home with an L, right? And so we got into the 4th overtime, and Ariana hit a runner at the buzzer in the 4th overtime to win the game. And I just remember saying, hallelujah, let's go home. And that was the call that was the final call for the game. And you just have so many different memories. But yeah, women's basketball was definitely something that I was very involved in. Thought about coaching, Big Law, thought about that, initially from my time.
Was Tim Taylor on that staff?
Excuse me?
Was Tim Taylor on that staff?
He was. Yeah, current coach at Navy.
Yeah.
Tim Taylor, Daryl Oliver, who played at Richmond in the late 90s, was on that staff. Nikki Caldwell, now Nikki Fargas, she married former Oakland Raider, Antonio Fargas, and but she, Nikki coached at UCLA. She coached at LSU. So there was a lot of talent that came through those ranks, and it was, a lot of it had to do with Debbie, and the position that she had put that program in 3 decades.
So you
you call Debbie Mama. I wonder what you call Tim.
Tim.
Tim and I went to high school together.
Yeah, there you go.
So we've met.
Yeah, so I guess you said you almost got into basketball, like coaching girls basketball.
Yeah, I thought about it, because again, being so close to the program, you got to see everything they did, how they ran practice, the way they approached it with the players, and it was easy to see how you could build a program from Debbie's example. And it just never really came together. And obviously media was more my thing, because I just seemed to gravitate more towards that. But I always enjoyed those times, man, those relationships, even to this day, small world. We'll talk about football quickly, but one of our great football players of the past is Marcus Hagans, right? From the 757, right?
That's right.
Biscuit. We refer to him as Biscuit, and he married one of my college classmates, Lauren Swerzik, who's from Philadelphia and was in school at the same time I was. So when I was working with the team, she was on the team. So she became a great friend. And so all those relationships to this day, she still refers to me with the nickname, which I will not share. And other of her teammates that I see in town that are in coaching, some are in real estate. And I think that's the beauty, guys, of college athletics. It is really about lifelong relationships, no matter if you're playing, no matter if you are support staff, whatever it is. It's just a great opportunity, to meet people and develop relationships that'll last a lifetime, and I think we all have them regardless of our experiences. And so that's always something I'll look back fondly on.
Well, I can tell you this. I know, I don't know where I'd be without sports in my world, man. I know I grew up single family, grew in my grandmother's home. I had incredible coaches, mentors that helped guide me, just with the discipline that sports would give, and the drive that you'd have to display and put out there to make it to wherever you wanted to go to. But, and then of course doing what I'm doing now, it's very rewarding. And also, when you're also helping young folks, and you're meeting a lot of folks as well. My man Chad says he's going to text Biscuit to find out the nickname.
and she will tell you. She will. Yeah. But that's all right, Chad. We just leave it. We'll leave it with them. That's true. Yeah.
So fast forward here, Jay. So now, and we won't get right to, the present, but let's get to like your football, the history of being on the sideline, and seeing what you've seen. I want to kind of get some of your greatest hits. Like what was like the greatest play that you've seen live?
Ooh, I think
on the sideline. Now,
on the sidelines.
On the sideline.
So many memories. I think back to, I want to say it might have been 2014, and and Ed can tell me if I got the year right. UCLA to Charlottesville, and we were playing UCLA in Charlottesville at Scott Stadium, and I remember, and I even remember the photograph of this. Grayson Lambert, I think, was our quarterback, and Matt Johns came in relief of Grayson Lambert. We were trailing by a couple of touchdowns.
Wow.
And then here comes Mighty Matt throwing a couple of touchdowns. And I remember he hit one going in towards the bowl end of the stadium, the south end of the stadium. He hit Andre Lavroni on a go route, and he kind of caught it in the corner of the end zone. And they took the picture, and I'm standing just off to the side. And I got this look on my face, like, like, but it was such a great moment because, we had, UCLA was in the house, man. Like it was a competitive game. We scheduled aggressively back then. I remember, and some of the moments, weren't the greatest. Obviously, I remember 2015 when now fired LSU coach Brian Kelly came to Charlottesville and was coaching Notre Dame. And we knocked Notre Dame's starting quarterback out of the game. And this was a critical moment in Mike London's tenure, because this was his final season. You know, he was on the hot seat at that point, and we had scheduled Notre Dame. And so Notre Dame comes in, it's early in the season, and we knocked their starting quarterback out. And Deshaun Kaiser, who ended up being a pro, came in as a true freshman late in the fourth quarter, maybe late third, played the fourth quarter. Virginia's got the lead by like 5. And it's like under a minute to play. And I think we all remember how this went. But Maurice Kennedy, who was a great cornerback for us back then under the London regime, under John Tenuta, unfortunately, he got hit on a hitch and go and bit as the corner. And Deshaun Kaiser, is a true freshman, threw it over the top with less than 30 seconds to play, and they beat us. And I always remember, I remember, you see the guy hanging over the wall, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the ESPN. Yeah. But there were so many pivotal moments that you see, because in my field, guys, those are the times when now I got to go talk to Mike, and I got to go talk about a missed opportunity when this man's job's on the line, with his livelihood. He's thinking about his family. He's thinking about so much more than just the game, right? And I'll never forget, that final game when Tech beat us in 2015, 23-20. And it really came down to, for Mike, you beat Tech, you keep your job. And if not, Craig was gonna have to make a tough decision, being Craig Littlepage. And so when we lose that game and how close it was, and you walk into that room and you have to sit with Mike, and you know that this is the end, you remember all of those different types of moments. I think one of the greatest moments I remember with Bronco Mendenhall, this will be the last one for at least for now, was when we went up to Boise and we beat Boise State and ended I think it was 130 game non-conference winning streak when Brian Harsin had taken over for Boise on the blue turf. And we boat raced them dudes, man. And it was like, and the funny thing about the game was, and again, Andre Lavroni, we got this. Let's talk shop for a second, right? Because this is shop talk. Yeah. So we Ahmad Hawkins and I are very close because we're colleagues now. We were classmates at Virginia, but we used to always say that Andre Lavroni, who's married to an Olympic champion now, by the way, we loved that movie from the 80s, The Last Dragon. And we used to always say that Andre Lavroni looked like that dude that he had the glow.
Bruce Leroy, yeah.
So every time I would see Andre Lavroni, I was like, you got the glow, with the girl and all that. So we always had a lot of fun with Andre. But Andre, one thing about him, he had great speed. And when we were up at Boise, again, the only thing we ever did with Andre Lavroni was run go routes. And Kurt hit him up the seam, and we took off at Boise. And the memory from that game, guys, is at halftime, Mr. Mormon, Mr. Reserved Bronco Mendenhall cussed the team out for the first time ever in the locker room, because it was a really competitive first half, and Bronco was really ticked off at. He didn't feel like Virginia was playing to the level, and we came out and ran them dudes off the field in the second half. And it was a historic win. And, Bronco had to do this coach's thing afterwards. I said, Coach, you've just ended 130 non-conference winning streak for Boise State. Coach, what's on your mind? And he's like, this was not about record. This was about my team. And he did the whole, all this coach speak that you always get. But you have all these memories, because I think what you see on the sideline, guys, is you see it's a human element to all of this, right? These are human beings. These are people who are competing at a high level, and it means a lot to them. And so those are some of the things you take away. So my top highlights, I think the win at Boise. I remember in 2012 winning at NC State. That was a tough year for Mike, but we beat NC State and Tom O'Brien 33-6. that year. And that was Eli Harold, former defensive end, his coming out party.
My guy, 757. That's right.
Right, in Carter Finley Stadium. And I remember interviewing him after the game, and he was just like, I told y'all what we're going to do.
Eli's coming.
Yes. So you had a lot of those, and and again, I guess, how can we not talk about guys? I mean, this past weekend, great. It's difficult where Tech's program is right now. We'll take it, but 2019 was really special, and to see, how competitive that game was. Hendon Hooker playing for the Hokies, everything's on the line. The ACC championship hangs in the balance. And for Virginia, to earn that win and to hear Tony Covington, one of our great alums, screaming in my ear, when we recovered the fumble in the end zone, yes, it's just, you remember all of those things. And so those are some of the memories that, over 14 years that really stick out to you. Just from the things you see, down there on the field.
Well, that was phenomenal. That call, yes, also, but that play where the quarterback fumbles the ball, yeah, and it's in the end zone, hang on near, and it's like, that definitely was a memory that'll always be there for us. Now they're making new memories. I'm thinking, could possibly be, record wise for sure, and in memory, maybe the best season ever for the program. With an opportunity to win 11 games moving forward. There has been a lot of defensive, a lot of, this team to me is a little bit more of a defensive skewed team, based off of how well they've done. But the offense has had their moments as well. And I kind of, got to take my hat off, to, Coach Elliott and the staff to figure out, all right, we got to fit, because they got the money, and they went out, and they spent the money properly. The thing is this, there were players that were more talented in the portal that they could have went after. You know what I mean? They went after the people that fit their system, and that's where, you can say, hey, some people throw, I guess the term is you throw good money behind bad money. It's, oh yeah, we're going to get this player because, he's the best player, by everybody ranking them, on the market. But they went after people who they felt would truly fit their system, in every way, offensively and defensively. And that to me is gives them another level of success, in my eyes, that, to put the money out there, to get players to come. Okay, great job. But are you getting the right people? Because there were other more talented, there were some couple, talented running backs out there that may have been bigger, faster, stronger than Jamari. There's other quarterbacks out there, bigger, stronger, faster than our quarterback. But you had to get the right ones. Receivers as well. There was other receivers out there that possibly who were more highly touted, than the guys that we got. And I just look at it and I say, man, that is probably the hardest thing to do as a coach is to get the talent in, get the right talent, and allow them to listen and adhere to the message that you're giving, and they did a hell of a job. And I'm so proud of this program because, being there for the years that I have. And then of course, because I used to coach at Cox High School. We followed them. We used to do our camps up at UVA and everything. And I used to go up here as a youth because I played for Green Run, Cadillac Harris at Green Run. And we used to come up here and do our camps as well. And, seeing the team in the media go through such a hard time, the team go through a hard time. And I felt like, it was just more of a reckoning, coming this Saturday. I just kind of felt like, man, they did it. They got the monkey off their back. I said they did it in an impressive way. There's not any extra, oh man, they just got by. And no, they made it definitive. They made it a situation where this team is is destined. And I didn't want to use the M word, and I'm still not going to use the M word yet. But it is that kind of an M word season that's going on, because they can get this 11th win. They qualify for, the bowl championship, tournament. it can just go off the charts. And then once you get into that tournament, of course, all bets are off. Everything's wide open, and this team looks like they can do what they have to do, based off of what the situation is. They could be undefeated. They're 2 plays from being undefeated, right? Going toward the hill. They're 2 plays from being undefeated. So I don't know.
Big Law, I think you make a really, really good point, and I think to Tony, and you've been around him, but as we get to be around him in the locker room, and John Freeman and Ahmad, especially John, when he can be at practice and stuff like that. One of the things about Tony, he believes very strongly in culture, right? And so in this new environment in college athletics, the question, fellas, is, can you build a culture when you got what are so-called mercenaries, right? Transferring every year. And the key for Tony is that what he has done that his mentor, Dabo Swinney, has not, at least yet, is to embrace, how do you preserve a culture, and everybody who's coming, whether it's for a year, 2 years, they're coming for NIL, they have to fit that culture. You don't adjust to them. They have to adjust to you. And I'll give you a perfect example. You mentioned, Jamari Taylor, but I think the guy we need to talk about is Harrison Whaley, because Harrison Whaley, before he came to Virginia, guys, he was the active NCAA leader in yards.
Yeah.
So this is a guy not used to sitting on the bench. Right. And if you look at Harrison's demeanor and the way he is as a teammate,
humble,
he's the perfect example of what Tony was looking for guys who fit this culture, that it's not me, it's we, right? So he's watching Jamari Taylor get the bulk of the yard. Jamari just made all ACC, right? He's getting all these accolades. He's reportedly getting upwards of $400,000 for the season. I mean, and he's a great talent, but Harrison can run the rock too, and with authority. But more, what I've been impressed from the sideline when I watch him is just what kind of teammate he is. As he's getting less reps, but he's always there. They sit next to each other. They're for each other. And, it's really impressive. And then you think about all these guys they brought in, Mitchell Melton from Ohio State. When you talk to that kid, and Big Law, like when you talk to that, when you have an opportunity to interview kids like him and Devin Neal from Louisville, they're mature. They fit the culture. They understand. And the reason Tony is the ACC Coach of the Year is because he pulled a Phil Jackson, right? He took a bunch of talented people, and you can't just win with talent. You have to get talent to coalesce. You have to get talent to accept their roles. You have to get talent to believe in the collective objective and not just the stats and my individual accolades. And that's what all of those guys have done. And they're, to Tony's credit, they're like little Tonys. They walk around quoting everything he says, right? It's like, the next game, Big Law, how many times the next game is the biggest game, right? Name his faceless opponent, right?
And it really is. That's the crazy thing about it.
They all say it, top to bottom. They all say it. They've all embraced it. They all believe it. And I think that's one of the things that this has the chance to be sustainable, because Tony is building a culture, and these players can decide, do they want to be a part of his culture or not? But he's going to establish it here at Virginia. And I think, to the point about you saying it's such a historic season, if you look at the stats, right, only 9 times in 136 years, Ed knows this, has Virginia won 9 games, right? Only 1 time previously had they won 10 in 1989. And, for an opportunity to win an 11th, obviously, only the 2nd appearance in the ACC championship game in the entire history of the program, and the way things have changed. But lastly, guys, I think about this. 11 wins in Tony's first 3 years combined. And now he has an opportunity to win 11 in his 4th year alone. And that has taken that, and nobody, I don't think, with all the accolades and things that he will well deserved and receive, none of us, I don't know it, guys. I don't think any of us as fans can appreciate what that man went through, what that team went through. And to take them from that point in 2022 to where they are now is a story to be told, right? It is something that is beyond what a lot of people have accomplished in college athletics. And I think it can easily kind of get lost because you just kind of get caught up in the season, and everything that's happening. But what that man had to go through, with those kids and with those families and everything that they had to endure. And then on top of that, all the criticism, after 2023. Well, you ain't winning enough. I know you've been through a lot, but you're not winning, man.
Criticism? What criticism?
Yeah, exactly, right.
There were people that wanted to fire him. They didn't want to bring him back for the third year, never mind fourth year.
Exactly. And I just, so that really, Ed, I think you make such a great point, man. It's just, it shows how remarkable it is. And I'll share this story with you guys. I was emceeing their banquet last year, and I mean, I can get to a point like where I really want to be glass half full, but I can also be a realist too, right? So I was, after 2024 and 5-7 and Calandria and Musket and all the stuff that was going on, we're leaving the banquet, and I look at Tony and I'm like, hey, hang in there, man. I'm just like, and guys, I'll never forget this. He looked at me and there was no doubt in his eyes. And he was like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. And I think that, to me, that is an example of, if you believe, it can change, right? If you believe it, if doesn't matter if anybody else believes it from the outside, and I was just trying to pat him on the back and encourage him. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, bruh, I don't know if you're going to be here. I love you though.
Right.
And he just looked at me, guys, and he was like, man, I believe, and he showed it, and they went to work, and he got the support of Carla, and the rest is history, which is being made as we speak.
That's right, man. That's right. And to go back for a second there, you're talking about, all the players, 15 players were recognized today, with Jamari being the first team All ACC. But there were 15 players recognized as first team ACC, second team ACC, and honorable mention. Absolutely unreal. I don't recall Virginia having that many players in the ACC, on any of that many players on any ACC teams in its history. I could be wrong, but 15 players. I just just real happy for the young men, and the coaching staff as well to have that many players play that well. We had like and I was trying to pull it up here to try to get all the names of all the players who were first team, second team, and honorable mention, but it was like 1, 4, and like, hold on a second. I gotta find this thing, man, because it was impressive. That when I saw that, and I said, that is a ton of players that made honors for the ACC, and I said these guys are really doing something special. But I'll always remember this season, and I think it's just the beginning. I got it right here. So just to let everybody know, I'm going to run it off right here. First team running back Jamari Taylor. He led the whole ACC in rushing, 3 yards away from 1,000. He'll get that this weekend. Of course, second team Brady Wilson, Daniel Sparks. Third team, you got Terrell Harris, Mikael Boley, and Noah Josie. Then, of course, you had Cam Robinson and Devin Neal. Those are your third team Wahoos. Honorable mention, man, you had 7 guys. You had Cam Ross, Chandler Morris, Sage Ennis, Mitchell Melton, Jameer Carter, Jason Pavard, and William Bettridge. Think about that, man. That is just, you got 22 starters, on on your team. 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and then you got 3 special teamers. So out of those 22, 23, 25 players, we have 15 of them earn ACC honors. That's how well they played.
Big Law, I know you like the writers, right?
Yeah.
I have a problem with them. All right, so here's the problem. Let's see what y'all think about this. How in the world is Cam Robinson not first team All ACC? The man scored 14 points as a defensive player. The man won 2 games by himself, and he didn't even play the whole season.
16 points.
What are we doing?
I have a theory on that. These are the same guys that picked us to finish 14th. So maybe they're not as expert as they and we would like to think.
With an easy schedule, right? They say, hey,
don't get me started on the schedule. Don't.
They say you have the easiest schedule and you're going to finish 14th.
Yeah, all I heard all weekend was, you haven't played anybody.
Well,
we were supposed to finish 14th with that schedule, so I don't want to hear it.
So can we do the transient properties though, guys? Like, think about it.
Here we go. Okay.
So here we go. Rock with me, Ed. So
I'm with you, man.
So we beat Louisville, right? We beat Louisville. Louisville beat Miami, right?
Amen.
Mm-hmm. SMU was supposed to be Virginia's opponent in the ACC championship this weekend. They lose to Cal, whom Virginia beat at Cal, by the way,
decisively,
and with a pick 6 from Cam Robinson. So when you look at
it's that man again, Mama.
These multiple opportunities of and I think Duke beat some people too, whom Virginia was up 31-3 on Duke at one point. And Duke is undefeated against all the Tobacco Road teams and all that kind of stuff, and beat Clemson. So nobody was really dominant in the league. And so to the argument about the schedule, look, let's look at, they just did the college football playoff rankings tonight, right, guys? So James Madison is in the college football rankings, and there is a possibility that as a 5th conference champion that they might be able to make the playoff under a few different scenarios. And the criticism of James Madison has been, well, the Sun Belt, it's a weak league, but they have just demolished everybody. They did what they were supposed to do. So if you're Virginia, the schedule is what the schedule is. You can only play who's in front of you, right? Where it's an unbalanced schedule. And so we'll see if Virginia is fortunate enough to be successful Saturday and get an opportunity in the playoff. Even in my view, I don't know outside of, and even when you look at Ohio State and you look at Indiana and you look at Georgia and you look at Texas Tech, who are, obviously very good football teams. Do you guys really see anybody that can't be beaten under the right scenario in this playoff?
Nope. No. I don't think so. In my opinion, I don't think so.
I think that's a function of the NIL deal. You've got so much transition from year to year. It's really hard to unless you're Ohio State. It's really hard to get anything vaguely resembling a dynasty going.
Yeah, it has truly, obviously, you see that now, hindsight, that it has even the landscape, where some players that may have been a 3.5 or a 4-star sitting the bench says, you know what, I can go somewhere else and I can get some money, and let me go and also some playing time, because I got to put stuff on film, right? Yeah. Because a lot of these guys say, the biggest thing for them is I got to get stuff on tape, I got to get stuff on film, because they want to get to the next level. And kids will leave, so they can get some stuff on film. And a lot of these other players, look at Amy jumping in. That's our Hokie right there. Ohio State. Okay, yeah, she's right. Yeah, Ohio State is the exception. But you get it, and I think it's really even the playing for a lot of teams. Being Virginia one, they are probably the biggest example of what could happen with some money. 10 wins in the season when you have never had an opportunity to win 11, going in. So, and I'm excited. How does your travel schedule get, whenever you're going to a game like this? So, do you travel with the team? You travel yourself, or how does that typically work for you?
I think when you travel with the team, it is. I won't call it an ordeal. It's an experience, right? So, it is a large operation. So whenever I can kind of be on my own recognizance, so I have autonomy for myself, I will do that. So I will drive to Charlotte. But if we fly anywhere, like when we flew to Louisville, or various places that we would fly to, it benefits you to travel with the team. I mean, we could have 6 or 7 buses, couple of planes, like it's a lot, and it has to be very coordinated. So Virginia has, really good ops people and the operation runs well. But whenever there's a drivable distance, it just, especially in broadcasting, right, and in media too, so that you're not, beholden to the team schedule, because teams in and out. Like if you want to be able to have that autonomy for your own schedule. So I want to be able to take my time to get to Charlotte, be able to take my time after the game.
Stop when you want to stop where you want to stop.
Are you double dipping? Are you doing are you going to the basketball game?
No. Listen, Big Law.
He's saving it.
I don't have your endurance, man. Look, you got it, man. I concede to you.
I'll be doing it. Yeah, I'll be doing a double dip. I'll be there. I'll probably get there the evening before. And,
my daughter is so mad.
Yeah.
She works for the Carolina Ascent, and they have a game Saturday night. She has to work, and she's not happy.
Yeah, man.
But
so I'll be, prepping myself, getting, trying to get some rest and all that, get myself ready to be doing a lot of walking. But yeah, I'm gonna do the double dip. So I'll be, watching that or covering that game, the basketball game against Dayton in the Charlotte Hornets Stadium, or basketball arena, and then going to the game later. See if I can get a little rest in the meantime. But this is going to be awesome, man. It's going to be huge. They've had good luck in this stadium, of course. The Belk Bowl, that's
don't forget
what I'm
the Mayo
thinking,
Bowl.
So I'm just thinking, and I know the last time they were there, they lost to Clemson, but Clemson was Clemson back then. I want to say they won a national championship that year as well. But yeah, this is going to be an experience, and what do they say? We don't cheer in the box. We won't be cheering, but inside, I'll be rooting for these kids and hoping that they do well, and come out on the other side of a victory.
Well, Amy is making some great points in the chat, guys, that I think we
don't encourage her.
but I think she's Duke with 5 losses. If they are the ACC champion, there's a chance that the ACC is left out of the college football playoff, and it's understandable, because you can make an argument that Tulane or JMU as conference champions, or North Texas, whomever it may be, have better resumes than Duke, with the loss to UConn on the road and the loss to Tulane, and just so many losses. And even though they were 6-2 in the conference, so there's a couple of dynamics here. Virginia gets in with a win, and so obviously the ACC is hoping that Virginia wins the football game, because they carry the league into the college football playoff, and that's just the nature of where we are. And Duke is highly motivated, because Manny Diaz made the comment. He said it was the worst performance of the season when they lost at home to Virginia. So we know it's difficult to beat a team twice in a quick turnaround. It can be done, but Duke will be highly motivated, when they show up on Saturday night. So it'll be a really competitive game, just to see how all this plays out. And Virginia initially projected as an 11 seed if they do win, where they would likely travel to Oxford, Mississippi, guys, where Lane Kiffin just left.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that. I thought that was an interesting matchup.
Right.
Yeah, and with an interim coach, their D coordinator. So there's a lot of exciting possibilities. But speaking of Amy, it brought something to mind, because she is family to this show, and when I think about Virginia Tech,
well, cousin Eddie.
Yeah,
that kind of family.
Yeah,
funny
is I think about everything Big Law and Ed, you guys have been talking about. This is the bigger issue, because I think we all benefit when Virginia and Virginia Tech are good, and I think this will be good for the state if James Franklin, and he will be successful. He's already recruiting very well, and it's a great hire for the Hokies. So #respect. But I think before we got to this point with both Justin Fuente and Brent Pry, what you saw at Virginia Tech, they did not make the same level of proactive investment that Virginia did.
Right.
And because of that, they felt like they could lean on their cultural advantage of Lane Stadium and their ability to recruit in the past from the Frank Beamer years. And it eventually exhausted itself, right? So that Brent Pry is not getting the same level of talent. And now they're not investing to the level, so that they have to circle back and say, we need to invest $229 million in order to get this thing back to being competitive. And so what I think there's an opportunity of what could happen, guys. And Sean Moore even said this on a recent podcast, our greatest player of all time. And he said, look, he said, it's good for the state when both programs are good.
Absolutely. That's what I want.
And now Virginia Tech is in that mode that they're going to need to give James Franklin all of those resources. But the caveat to that is that Carla and Tony are ahead in the game. And so they have a competitive advantage. So what's going to be neat is how James is chasing them. And it gives us the opportunity to have two really competitive programs. And how cool will it be to see Tony Elliott and James Franklin, if it plays out this way, battling each year? And we have a real rivalry, right? We don't have 19 of 20. We don't have these lopsided, I know, but we got to acknowledge the truth, right? Maybe this is a turning point. Just like when Michael Vick showed up, it was a turning point. Right. I think this NIL era and what Virginia has done is a potential turning point, that this rivalry will be competitive. There will be times where you see Virginia has an advantage because they have a formula and a culture in place now that Tech is trying to catch up. And I think it's going to be fun to see how it plays out, because you always want to be careful. Just because James Franklin is here and he can coach, no question, it doesn't mean in year one or year two that you got instant success. So it's going to take some time to build. And if it's taking him time and Virginia's continuing to be at this level and be consistent, it's definitely going to be an equalization into the rivalry.
Well, I call it the Michael Vick effect. Whenever Michael came to Virginia Tech, and it just totally, turned that program around. I was saying this year could be a similar thing for Virginia football. This could be Virginia's Michael Vick effect, based off of the Florida State game, based off of all this media footage, based off of all this, if you want to call it hype videos, whatever, and all this, substance now that they've won 10 games. You need a spark. You need something like that to turn a program around. And this season, in my opinion, was that spark. And you're right. This is going to be an arms race moving forward between Virginia and Virginia Tech. If you had to say, hey, let's all put our chips on the table, most people would say Virginia probably has more chips than anybody in the state. Let's see, and even Scott German said, you may have woken a sleeping giant, from my man from the Augusta Press. He said Virginia could be the sleeping giant that a lot of schools didn't want to wake up, allowing us to use the NIL money, allowing us to get donors to put in, to make this program to help this program move forward like it has. My man James Watson in the chat is saying, won't work without the money. Virginia Tech only has bass fishing, no one championship. Yeah, they are. Yeah. This is what I can say. Go ahead, Jay.
I gotta say to my brother James, know him well, and and I appreciate him. And it's true what he's saying. But all those years that I used to try to make that argument, Tech fans would look at me and laugh, and they would say, "We don't care, bro." they would say it's all about football, and they were right to an extent. Like, the front door of your university, I love what Carla Williams has done. I'm a huge fan. But at the end of the day, guys, all of us here gathered, we understand, like, if you're going to be successful as an athletics department, you got to be successful in football, and you got to win this thing. You got to win the arms race. You got to be ahead of the curve. And I think the last thing I think about, as I'm reading some of what Amy's chiming in here in the chat and some of the points she's making. But I would say this: one of the things that Virginia is going to have to do in order for this to continue to work, in my opinion, with the money, they're going to have to duplicate the culture they have built with the fans this year, right? Because one of the things that Virginia Tech always had an advantage in was the culture and the environment of Lane Stadium. I hate it. I hate going down there. But
I don't blame you.
Yeah, it is a penultimate home environment, and to their credit, they support those kids, good, bad, or indifferent. They
Oh yeah,
still show up, and
yeah,
Virginia can get back to that place from the success and the things that they're doing. When you saw, one of the things I saw Saturday, guys, Ed, I love your thoughts, and Big Law, y'all's thoughts on this too. I'm so used to in Scott Stadium, Hokies taking over, right? Like
oh
Right.
yes,
all these people, but I didn't see that
Didn't
Saturday.
see it.
I
Didn't see
didn't
it.
see it. I
Didn't
didn't
hear it.
see that.
Didn't hear
And
it.
I think, it for a number of reasons that they were down on the team and all that. But I think there's an opportunity that Virginia can continue to do that, and that Scott Stadium is their house, and Lane Stadium can be their house, right?
yeah.
And then
Mhm.
I've been in Scott when it was loud, when the other team couldn't get a play called. I know that atmosphere can happen. I hope that administration is serious about changing the culture.
Oh well, I think that they definitely are, and they have. I mean, you can see all the funds that they put towards, having the
Yeah,
idea and thinking, hey, we're gonna have night games, and putting in the lights the way that they did, the way they put that, what is it, the look of what it looks like on TV as a night game. There was a lot of thought, a lot of money went into that, to making sure that you look like it's a happening atmosphere, kind of like a party club atmosphere, like a lot of big schools. No,
yeah.
seriously, like a lot of
No,
big schools have. When
yeah.
it's nighttime and they shut the lights out, and they trying to get the crowd into it. They really have put a lot into that
I'm
atmosphere
still
and
getting
trying
used
to
to
make
that.
it. Yeah, and we had a record 7 games at night, 7 games, 7 night games. It was ridiculous. How many games? I couldn't believe it. I said, well, when you win, I guess this is kind of what happens. And uh,
Yeah,
a lot of 1, 2 o'clock drive homes. Driving home. At that time of the night, but it was worth it because the team really came through and showed out exactly what what they were made of. But
that drive
I
is
can
not so bad when you win.
not at all, not at all. Then of course, I get I whenever because I do a post game show similar to kind of like how we're doing this now, but I also will put on my headphones because I want to hear what Jay is saying and what he's saying to the players in the locker room, and kind of getting some post game information and some of his interviews. So I'm
Are you borrowing content?
no, not borrowing content. I want to know what's going on. Jay is in the suit. He's down there in the locker room with the guys. He's getting the first interview, really, to the public, for the, with Coach. So I want to hear what Coach has to say. I want to hear what some of the players have to say. What did they, feel, was going on the field about certain plays, maybe injuries as well. So I'm looking forward to it. And I can tell you, we can get into our predictions now. This has been great. We got to get you back on, Jay. We still got, seems like there's a lot more to talk about, man. We've been on for an hour.
The game?
And yeah, well, sure. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to take care
Not
of
to
that with
put too fine a point on it, but the game?
yeah, the game, but we got to,
big game.
we'll take care
Yeah.
of those with the predictions, but we got to get you back on, man, because it's just great talking shop with you. And obviously, a lot of folks in the chat like listening to you as well, man. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and get some chat. I mean, some folks in the chat. If you guys want to send in your predictions, we'll put them up as well. I'm gonna start with you, Ed. Prediction for the game. Give me your score for Duke. Now, remember, as always, it's hard to beat somebody 2 times in a season. Almost impossible to beat them 3 times. So, give me your analysis and what you think we can do this game. What is your prediction?
I was telling one of my Hokie friends the other day that I have sort of, I mean, I've been going to football games since I was 5 years old, so I've seen a fair amount of football. I've never seen anything like this. Back when we did our season predictions back in August, Chad had us bowl eligible. So I mean, what the hell? So at that point, I'm like, oh, the wheels are off. Let's just ride this and see where it takes us. I think this team has sort of adopted a why not us attitude. We show up, we handle our business. Why not us?
Right.
I think they're going to beat. I think all this talk from Duke about, well, that was our worst game and we didn't play very well, blah 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 blah. Fellas, you weren't playing solitaire. I don't know what you were playing, but you weren't playing solitaire. The Virginia team played pretty well. I think it might be a little closer, but I would like 28-17, something like that.
Man, you took my number, Jay. Yeah, he took my number, bro.
I'm sorry, man.
You took my number, Ed. It's all right.
We can make it 29 to make you feel better.
No. I'll this ain't price. Look, that's like Price is Right.
29. That's the way I go to Charlotte. So
Yeah. Well, shout out to Amy. Amy's giving us 28-24 UVA. Rob Gray, my man Rob. Thank you for tuning in tonight, man. He's saying 31 UVA, 17 Duke. Let me come to Jay. Man on the spot, man. Let's get a prediction. If you're gonna predict the score for Saturday night.
All right, so a lot of folks might not like this, but I would say, remember, guys, this team has built a lot of intestinal fortitude, and these are the cardiac Cavaliers, right? So to win an ACC championship, the first ever ACC championship game, it's going to come down like it always has, right? So I'm saying look for Virginia something like 30-27 in overtime, because they've already played 3 overtime games and set a record for overtime games in a season. It would just only be fitting that the game comes down to overtime, and it's Will Bettridge, hitting a field goal to win the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship title game 30-27 after Virginia stops Duke with some type of defensive stand at 27-all, and all Virginia has to do is kick the field goal and let's party.
Any chance of a Cam Robinson, Willis Reed moment?
No, not with a torn ACL. No.
Yeah. Well, this is what I can say. I feel like this team, as you said just a second ago, man, this team has shown that they can play this game, close. Now they've shown that they can play this game blowing a team out. So they can play it in different ways. Chandler being a lot healthier helps, because I think some of the issues was him trying to recover. Also, I think Jamari Taylor has recovered from his ankle. If people didn't understand that he had been battling an ankle injury for about 3 or 4 games in the middle of the season there. And it feels like his ankle is better. Harrison Whaley, I feel like he's going to be the hammer. I think even though it's late in the season, they almost used him as the hammer, to hammer the game out. That was like one of the first times I really felt like they're using him to really, close this game out and hammer, and grind this team out. That's the first time I seen him use him extensively this the 12th game of the season. So so I'm thinking Harrison Whaley gonna grind him out. I think that Jamari Taylor is gonna do Jamari Taylor, do what he does, and I think that Coach Rudd has Mensa's number. He has that quarterback's number. I'm looking for a game that's still gonna be close, though. I'm looking at a 17-24 kind of a game. And like you said, I don't think it's going to be a runaway. I think it's going to be like a late score for the Wahoos to kind of put it away, to put it up to double digits. But this Duke team, like they say, it's hard to beat somebody 2 times in the season. It's, and impossible to beat them 3 times. But I think there's a confidence going on with this team. I think that barring any injuries, heaven forbid, knock on wood, I think that they should be able to do, not going to say similar to what they did, but they should be able to play their game. I'm confident in them playing their game. I would love to get an idea where Cam Ross is with his hamstring, because that's something we need in the special teams side of things, for field position, and also for the threat, just the threat of him returning, a punt for a touchdown. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing now playing the role of Cam Robinson, Marcellus. You know, I want to see his next progression because he looked phenomenal. You know, if you could change that 11 to a 5, it was the same kind of a game that you would expect from a Cam Robinson type of a performance. And I got to give him credit for what he's done. But I'm just thinking that the team can definitely surpass the 10 wins season and get to that 11th, and also make us all proud and see what happens. We can get into that college championship tournament. But 24-14, man. So yeah. But anything you want to add? To anything, Jay, man, I appreciate you coming on. It's been great. Having you on and kind of picking your brain and getting an idea of what it's like to be in to be on the sidelines, to kind of be in the locker room, with the players and everything, man.
Yeah, no, guys, I would just say, first of all, really appreciate y'all having me. I've enjoyed it. I think it's these types of forums are wonderful to give, fans an opportunity and just to really be able to talk about these dynamics in a long form. And so this is really great, and definitely look forward to other opportunities. But I would say, finally, I think, all the points that you guys have made are right on, this team's maturity. Mitchell Melton told me one time, he said, we don't just have old guys, we got old guys, right? So they got guys in their sixth and seventh year. Antonio Clary's in his 7th year. John Mayer Carter's in his 6th year. Chandler Moore's 6th year. Melton in his 6th year. So, they just so much experience that I think can benefit this team in terms of trying to approach this the right way. But I would say this, it's going to be exciting Saturday night. I think Darian Mensah is a real sophisticated talent. And I think, he knows he did not perform well against Rudd the last time. And I think he will be highly motivated. And so I think this game will be really, really competitive, on Saturday night. But I think that maturity is something that can really carry Virginia all the way through. So, yeah, a lot of things to watch, as you said, with Cam Ross and that hamstring. That's a difficult injury when you're a speed guy, so Kentrell Harris and other guys. And really, will we see more of Jamal Edrin?
I need to see more of him, man. I need to see more of him, man. He the best hands catcher, and sometime at Virginia. And we definitely need to see him, get more, and like I said, he does the Michael Irvin thing. He's first of all, he loves mixing it up with those DBs, on the field, on the outside, and he really is the second coming, third coming, whatever, of Michael Irvin to me, because you see him on the edges out there. He is truly beating the mess out of these cornerbacks and, and just posting them up. And getting, I think we just need more of that moving forward. And we're going to need, those kind of passes just to keep the chains moving, that's what he is.
Yeah, no question about it, guys. I couldn't agree more. And let's see what happens,
Yes, sir.
And it'll definitely be interesting. If they get into that playoff, man, all bets are off.
Absolutely. All bets are off. Appreciate that, Jay. And Ed, thank you for coming on. Anything you want to say in closing, Ed?
No. Just don't start with me on the schedule.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't want to hear it. I really don't. It's we've taken it for years. I get it. 20 years, three wins out of 20 years. I get it. I got it. We sucked. We weren't very good. Tech's not very good this year. I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear it. No. So crazy someplace else. We're all full up here.
Anything you want to say? Any handles or anything you want to say so like your fan base can get a hold of you, Jay?
Oh man, I'm old school, man. Really don't have a whole lot of handles. I guess at News Radio WINA is on X. I still call it Twitter. And Our show, you know, a lot of what we do is through the Virginia Sports app, or we have a website called CvilleRightNow.com that we stream all the games through and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, just appreciate it, man. It's been really fun talking to you guys, just to hear the passion and the excitement around Virginia football again. And all three of us understand that and can appreciate it hasn't always been like that, even in recent history. So,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I would just encourage everybody, look, man, enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one.
That's right.
It doesn't
That's
happen
right.
often around here. So, yeah, I remember when we were excited to beat VMI. I'm not kidding. We beat VMI. Yay. So yeah, they've definitely come a long way. I'm happy for them.
Hey, by the way, guys, before I go, I really would like to talk to Amy the next time. So let's bring her on.
I'm trying to say
that.
I mean, she, you know, she said
You
that she
say
had
that.
dental. Look, she said she had dental work today, so she couldn't really get on. But those thumbs were working pretty good. I see.
Getting her foot taken out of her mouth.
But we'll have her on next time. Like I say, maybe we can get you on, Jay, in a couple of weeks, you know, and hopefully for another round or so.
So let me leave. I want to say this as a parting shot to Amy. Okay, I'm quoting Coach Elliott. I want to say this closely. Thank you, thank you, Big Law. I want to say this.
Listen up, Amy.
So Coach Elliott told me in the postgame, he said, every champion needs a rival. So if Virginia's a champion, they need a rival. So that's the only time I'll say, let's go Hokies. Get your program in order.
Yeah.
Let's have a rivalry. Hey.
Okay. I love it. Let's get this thing going. It's already on and popping. As I said before, thank you, viewers and listeners, for hanging out with us on the here she is. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us. But as of now, this shop is closed. Thank you, guys. We look forward to seeing you guys. I will be there this weekend. I will be doing a basketball show, and football as well. You'll see me there. So Wahoo, let's go. Let's see what these Wahoos can do. And good night and be safe.